offensive rebound.
He was an NBA All-Star, a charismatic powerhouse with $1 million smile and an even bigger personality. On the court, Jayson Williams was relentless, a rebounding machine and one of the most likable figures in the game. Off the court, he was known for his humor, his kindness, and his larger-than-life presence. But one night, a gun went off inside his mansion, and a man was killed. What followed was a slow, painful unraveling of a life once defined by success, turning into a haunting reminder of how a single moment of recklessness can destroy everything. Jayson Williams was born on February 22, 1968, in Ritter, South Carolina, but was raised in New York. From early on, it was clear that he wasn't just tall. He was athletic, tough, and driven. Basketball became his outlet, and he excelled at it. He played college ball at St. John's University, and by 1990, he was drafted into the NBA by the Phoenix Suns. He was quickly traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and then, more permanently, to the New Jersey Nets. With the Nets, Williams blossomed. He wasn't the flashiest scorer or the player grabbing headlines every night, but he was beloved by teammates and fans alike for his hustle and intensity. He had a nose for the ball, always crashing the boards and diving for loose possessions. By the 1997 to 1998 season, Williams had cemented himself as one of the league's top rebounders and earned a spot on the NBA All-Star team. He was at the height of his powers, playing the best basketball of his life, and was rewarded with a massive $86 million contract extension. It seemed like nothing could go wrong. But in 1999, just 1 year after his All-Star appearance, everything changed. During a routine play, Williams suffered a catastrophic leg injury that shattered his right leg. It was the kind of injury that doesn't just end seasons, it ends careers. And in Williams' case, it did just that. He attempted comebacks, but the damage was done. The career he'd built through years of hard work was suddenly over. For an athlete, especially one who thrived on energy and routine, the transition to retirement can be jarring. For Jayson Williams, it was devastating. With the game gone, he turned to the lifestyle. He had the money, the fame, the mansion, everything you might think would bring happiness. But something was missing. Friends and family began to notice a change in him. He became more erratic, more impulsive. He was known for being a prankster, always the life of the party. But underneath the laughter, there was a growing darkness. He spent his post-NBA days hosting parties, buying expensive toys, and surrounding himself with people who didn't always have his best interests in mind. He became known for his love of firearms, owning dozens of guns and often showing them off. To some, it was just another quirky hobby from a larger-than-life character. But to others, it was a red flag that something wasn't quite right. Then came the night of February 14th, 2002. Williams had invited friends over to his mansion in Alexandria Township, New Jersey. Among the group was 55-year-old Costas Christofi, a limo driver hired to transport guests to and from the gathering. Christofi was soft-spoken, polite, and by all accounts just there to do his job. He wasn't a close friend. He was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. As the night wore on, Williams began showing off his guns to the guests. He reportedly retrieved a Browning 12-gauge shotgun, one of his favorites, and started playing with it in the home. Witnesses would later say that he was twirling the weapon, pointing it at people, and acting out of control. Some laughed nervously, unsure whether it was all part of a joke. Others were alarmed. Then the unimaginable happened. The gun discharged. Christofi was shot in the chest at close range. The blast was fatal. He collapsed on the floor and died almost instantly. But instead of immediately calling 911, Williams panicked. And in those critical minutes, he made the situation infinitely worse. According to the investigation, he attempted to cover up the shooting. He wiped the shotgun clean, told his friends to lie to the police, and staged the scene to make it look like Christofi had accidentally shot himself while handling the gun. The plan was desperate and sloppy, and it didn't work. When police arrived, the inconsistencies were glaring. Christofi had no powder burns or gunshot residue on his hands, which would have been present if he had fired the weapon. The angle of the shot didn't make sense. Witnesses began to talk, and soon the tragic truth came out. Williams was arrested and charged with aggravated manslaughter and several other offences. The sports world was in shock. A former All-Star, known for his good nature and sense of humour, was now facing prison for killing a man. And the more that emerged, the darker it all became. The case went to trial in 2004. Prosecutors argued that Williams had acted recklessly, handling a loaded firearm while intoxicated and showing complete disregard for the safety of those around him. The defence insisted it was a tragic accident, that Williams hadn't meant to pull the trigger, and that the death of Christofi was unintentional. The jury deliberated and delivered a mixed verdict. Williams was acquitted of the most serious charges, including aggravated manslaughter. But the jury deadlocked on reckless manslaughter, and Williams was eventually convicted on 4 counts of attempting to cover up the shooting. He avoided immediate jail time, but the legal battle wasn't over. In 2010, after years of legal wrangling, Williams accepted a plea deal and admitted to aggravated assault. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He served 18 months before being released in 2012. But the end of the trial wasn't the end of his struggles. During his time behind bars, Williams reportedly faced severe depression. He described being haunted by the death of Christofi and the pain he caused the victim's family. He began opening up about his past, his injuries, his drinking, and his inability to adjust to life after basketball. In interviews after his release, he didn't shy away from his guilt. He called himself broken, a man searching for peace after making the worst mistake of his life. Williams wrote a memoir, gave public talks about addiction and gun violence, and tried to use his story to prevent others from going down the same road. But he also had relapses, run-ins with the law, incidents involving alcohol, and reports of erratic behaviour. It was clear the weight of what happened that night would never truly lift. The family of Costas Christofi, meanwhile, was left devastated. They lost a son, a brother, a kind man who had no reason to die that night. In their eyes, no apology could bring him back. No sentence could make it right. They settled a civil lawsuit with Williams for millions of dollars, but the emotional wound remained open. And that's the real tragedy of the Jayson Williams story. A life was lost for no reason. A man who was just doing his job never went home. And another man, rich, famous, and beloved, threw it all away because of one reckless decision. No amount of regret can undo it. No speech or memoir can bring closure. Jayson Williams is now a cautionary tale, not just about guns or parties, but about the fragility of success. He had everything: talent, money, love from fans, and yet none of it protected him from the consequences of his own actions. Fame doesn't make you invincible. In fact, sometimes it blinds you to your own vulnerability. Today, Williams lives a quieter life. He's reportedly stayed out of major trouble in recent years and continues to reflect on his past. Whether the public has forgiven him or not is up for debate. Some people see a man who paid for his mistake and tried to grow from it. Others see someone who escaped full accountability because of his wealth and status. But for Costas Christofi's family, the verdict was final the moment the gun went off. Their loved one was gone forever. This story isn't just about an NBA star who fell from grace. It's about how quickly life can change when responsibility is ignored. It's about the sobering reality that one moment, just one, can define a lifetime. If real-life stories like this one get you thinking about the hidden struggles behind fame and the irreversible cost of a single decision, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations. What are your thoughts? Was Jayson Williams a man consumed by grief and bad judgment, or was justice never fully served? Let us know in the comments.